love whiskey, man. Yeah, I've been getting into whiskey, and we'll probably maybe we'll do a session on whiskey and talk a little bit about it. But yeah, so we were drinking, and appreciate you guys coming over, and that was fun. So hey, welcome back to Cut the Slack podcast. We are here again. We are in January of 2021 right now, and we're literally seeing the world crack up. Quite frankly, there's turmoil happening everywhere. There's lots of people that are fighting each other within our country. There's supposedly other countries that may want to take us over, and and there's all this looming and pending doom. And I've been listening to a lot of people. So first of all, what I want you to know is that's not what this episode is about. It's not about end of the world kind of stuff or militarization or anything like that.
Or maybe it is.
Well, maybe it is in a way. Maybe it is. So here's what I want to point out. So I've been listening to a lot of different guys and girls. A lot of them have military and government intel, seemingly.
Yeah.
So there's one piece of technology that's been talked about quite a bit over the last month or two. It's been around for a long time, but apparently this is a piece of technology called Looking Glass that you can feed in criteria and it will tell you the outcome.
Yeah.
And you can continue to feed in criteria until you get the outcome that you want. Right?
And what have we seen so far?
Well, I mean, if you're talking specifically about Looking Glass, so I've seen videos that came out 5 to 10 years ago of people being interviewed that had worked with this technology, and then I've seen guys very recently in the last 2 weeks that have talked about this technology being used, and what they said specifically was there's the bad guys, the deep state or whatever they're called, have used this over the years to get what they want and to be able to take over countries and make a bunch of money and sway the populace or the people of the world in a certain direction for their own bad intentions so they could profit. And then I also heard that around 2012 it stopped working. And what that means is that no matter what criteria they put in, the outcome still was the same. Almost like there was a divine intervention.
Woo!
Right? But then it was said by some other people that supposedly are siding with the good guys, that the good guys are using that technology also. And since they have positive intentions and they are part of the plan, the good plan that's supposed to happen, that they're able to connect with this energetically. Somehow the technology senses their energy, or there's an energy connection, and will give them their outcomes. So apparently the bad guys have put this technology away almost because they just keep getting the same outcome.
What do you mean specifically when you say technology? Are we talking like a computer, or are you referring to this meditative state?
That's what I wanted to talk about today. I didn't really want to get into conspiracy theories so much, but that's what I'm seeing is the convergence, and that's what's really kind of blowing me away. Is that you used to think that science and spirituality were two completely different things, and then you had something that came up right around, I guess it was Tesla and Albert Einstein back in the old days, that really. Obviously, they were geniuses, and they started to get into quantum physics, and that has seemed to be the bridge between science and spirituality.
There's been a blackout since then.
I find that fascinating. Yeah, there was a blackout, and I think these guys were really onto something, and I believe that. I don't know what happened to them or how they died, but the conspiracies can fly forever on that. But what I have heard is that their technology was taken by the government and hidden away from the people. They didn't want the people to have access to this technology. But Einstein at one point, one of his famous quotes was, "Everything is energy, and what you can achieve or have whatever you want if you just simply match the vibration." And that was the beginning of science and metaphysics coming together. So that's what fascinates me, because again, it was always said that, okay, you're either a scientist or you're a spiritual, I'm a meditator, I'm a hippie. and that there was a great divide between those two worlds. But then science has started to actually prove spiritualism, and now we're seeing technology that's combined with metaphysics.
So you mentioned 2012, and that the same outcome would just keep happening. No matter what they put in,
right,
they would receive the same outcome. What is that outcome?
So that's what no one's telling anybody, and that's where you get this information, but you just get a little bit to know, and all I can go on is inference, which is the supposed bad guys were trying that they have been using the technology to advance themselves and make themselves powerful and also a lot of money.
Check.
Yeah, so and that's been done, right? And then they wanted to continue to use it for whatever purpose, but the same outcome keeps happening, which I believe is a good outcome. So now we get into, I've been listening to different people on YouTube and different gurus like Ralph Smart.
Okay, I thought you were going to come out and say that there's a global awakening and people rise up and tyranny is ended and we get on a path of actual liberation and freedom and humanity being this, good place.
Well, that's exactly
using technology for people rather than, squandered and made scarce and taxed and, metered and all this stuff. Right?
Well, you're definitely right. And that's exactly where I was going. Yeah. So a lot of these spiritual people that are heavy in the spiritual world have been saying that the winter solstice of 2020 that just occurred, which I think Jupiter and Saturn lined up, and the moon or something like that. But it's something that happens very, very rarely.
Yeah.
And apparently it was supposed to usher in the age of Aquarius. So if that's true, then that's what's happened right now. And part of that is the age of awakening, right? So the age of Aquarius is kind of referred to as an informational age, but more so, like to your point, it is an awakening of all the people on the planet, and them, throwing off the chains of bondage, and going from a tyrannical rule of any one government or multiple governments to the people don't need to be governed anymore. The people have awakened, and it comes to the simplest form of it is love.
That's it.
Where everybody says, hey, you know what? We've been fighting each other for too long. We've been divided because you're this religion, or you're this race or that race, or you're of this political party or that political party. But supposedly during this awakening, everybody says, you know what? All of this is bullshit. And we are people, we love each other. I mean, is there racism in the country? I'm sure there is at different points. But I'll tell you what, when I go to the store and I see an African-American person, we smile at each other. I hold the door open for them. If I drop something, they help me pick it up. Same with the Hispanic culture. When I'm out there, I see people wanting to work together and be kind, right? But there's been this racial, racial
They're
tension.
sowing seeds of racism in the media. And you say something X amount of times to X amount of people, it will seed in their mind as fact. And so we're being hacked. Everyone's being biohacked into hatred.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what team you're on. Everyone thinks like, and this is touchy, but everyone thinks like their team is correct in carrying out violence.
Yeah.
But there is no team that's correct if they're carrying out violence.
Right.
All violence is the same, whether you're a U.S. soldier or a Russian soldier or a Chinese soldier. These are the same frequency of killing energy. This is there's a percentage of the population that say, I want to kill. How do I figure out how to kill? And some of them go to gangs. Some of them go to maybe larger organized crime. Some of them go to the military. Some of them become cops. Some of them, end up in prison, this and that. But it's the same frequency of being, of spirit, that is saying, I want to kill.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And it's all equal. It's all equal across the board. That's what I'm saying. The Chinese soldier is just as dishonorable as the American soldier. And this is a touchy subject, but we have 20,000 plus soldiers going to DC right now with what kind of orders? They're all armed, they're all ready for something. What's to stop a commander or any authority figure in the army to say, go door to door and give these people vaccinations? Go door to door and take their guns. Go door to door and follow the command. And don't talk back. You go do what you're told. This is why you're here.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you have this soldier, this young guy who's, I want to be a hero. There is a culture here that idolizes and makes heroes out of men and women who want to stand up and fight for their country. Okay, this is killing. This is industrial killing. And that is the root of all war, that's what I'm saying. Like, people, the history books have, Hitler, Stalin, Mao, these leaders are the most well-organized killing organizations to be on the planet. And so no one man can carry out genocide. It takes thousands of people to tune in to an idea that is being directed maybe by one or a handful of people. But again, it goes back to the people. It is humans currently that are soldiers that are going to be carrying out these tyrannical policies. And so it's those same people that need to stop and say, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I am in this infrastructure of death, thinking that I'm doing my country some favor and serving the country. Meanwhile, I'm going around and harming the public. Mm-hmm. So what happens when a government turns its military force on its own people? What is the correct response from a populace whose government has turned on them?
Well, that's definitely the question. And I think one thing that you alluded to a little earlier before we started was the narrative. And the narrative of all of these people, the soldiers, whether it's a gang member like MS-13, an American, soldier or group of soldiers, Chinese, whatever, they're all being told something. Right. The Americans are being told that the Chinese are coming to take us over. The Chinese are being told that the American, are terrible people and they need to come around to their way of life.
Right.
And then, the gang members are being told that everybody's, the enemy, and the only ones that really care about you are the ones here in the gang. And we have to. So everybody is being given a narrative, and now even the people are given a narrative. Where you have people on the left or Democratic side that are saying, all Republicans are racist and they're stupid and they're dangerous. And then the same information and the same narrative is given to the Republicans,
right.
The conservatives saying that the liberals are dangerous and vicious and and now we've seen it happen on both sides where, we see, a group of people rioting and looting and burning down cities. And then we see a group of people storming the Capitol. And it's all because they believe that what the narrative they're being told is correct. So that's my point, is that in an awakening and in a spiritual awakening, all the people eventually say, hey, you know what? And that's the soldiers and the civilians alike say, hey, you know what? We're laying down our guns. We're laying, not giving up our guns, but we're laying down our acts of war and violence against other humans.
How beautiful would that be?
That's the beauty that I want to see. Dude. I mean, we're both pretty militant people in the way of defending our beliefs and defending our rights and our family and all of that. But that's, I think everybody's missing the point. They're missing the point, and we're getting sucked back in to a terrible narrative of you go out and fight against your neighbor, and now it's your family too. Like, you go out and fight against your kids think differently than you now, and that cannot be, or your parents think differently than you now, and you've got to correct them or fight against them or excommunicate from them. Which is techniques that have been used in Scientology and lots of other, religious quote unquote organizations where if someone doesn't agree with you, then you excommunicate,
extinguish them,
and in some cases, yeah, it's like stomp them out and extinguish them, but in the very least separate yourself from them. And that's what I'm not cool with, is separation.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to be separated from anybody, and that's really, again, the number one rule in how to take a country or group over, is divide them first.
Of course.
Find a wedge and then drive, find a crack and then drive the wedge in there.
Yes.
So now that's where we're at, which is we're at a place where there is possibly pending war going to happen in our country.
Yeah.
And the question is, what does it take for people to realize that war and killing and separation and violence is not the answer, and the real answer is to set down your guns, relinquish your clenched fists, focus on God and loving and helping your other human. Because that's what I've said before, is that beliefs divide and values unite. And I know that everybody in their heart of hearts says, okay, you see somebody struggling, you feel that pain. Right. And you want to help them. And it doesn't matter what country they're in or anything. This division of borders has caused that. But now I believe people need to really wake up, throw off the chains of bondage, and stop listening to the politicians and say, hey, you know what? I love my brother. I love my sister. I love the people in other countries. They deserve a chance to live free, just like we deserve a chance to live free. And the only way that the government can rule us, any government can rule us, is if we let them.
Period. Yeah.
That's
it.
We
have to rise above the us versus them, that whole thing, this team, that team. Again, it's utopian, right? We have to acknowledge that that's utopian.
Right.
Because for whatever reason, there's a percentage of the population that want to kill. They want to kill.
Well,
how do we flip them, right?
They want power or dominance because they think that that's going to push what they believe is right, right? And if everybody doesn't agree with you, then you force them to agree.
Right.
And that's not where it's at, man. Everybody can have all their own political beliefs. It does, none of that matters. What really matters is the value that everybody deserves a fair chance at life. And what we really need to get to is, let's stop trying to dominate each other and push our narrative on them. Let's just come together and be happy. Be happy. And the way to do that is to stop listening to the BS and start to focus on spirituality. It doesn't matter your religion. That's inconsequential.
Yeah.
That's different slices of the same pie. Right? What it focuses on is God and becoming a better human. And if we can do that, then I believe if the world can do that collectively, we all will come together in peace. Now, so the thing that people I don't think really understand is that we, just like if you root for a football team or a baseball team, and the person that doesn't wear that jersey or that wears a different jersey and roots for a different team, well, they're the enemy now.
Right.
And that's wrong. If you look at it from this perspective, if you look at it from an alien sitting up in a spaceship watching Earth, what you see is not a bunch of nations of different people. You see a whole planet of humans that are killing each other and trying to dominate each other like it's going to make any difference.
And it's to go through this life and have not killed anyone. That's an accomplishment.
I mean, yeah.
That's a weird little...
It's a weird thing.
It's a weird little... No, I didn't kill I didn't harm anyone.
Yeah.
I came, I appeared, I lived in my little space.
Right.
I did my little thing. I tried to put out, certain ideas and create, certain experiences, and I'm out.
Yeah.
Okay? That's a proper way to exist, I feel.
But the people that lived in the time of World War II, not many men were able to say that they didn't kill someone.
That they didn't kill someone. That's
Not
what I'm
many
saying.
men that went to Vietnam are able to say, I didn't kill somebody in my lifetime. That's sad. That's really sad. And what good did it do? What good did any of it do? None good. if that's grammatically
It built the power structure. It built the power structure that is in power still today. And, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, my dad was drafted. That's crazy.
Yeah, here's a
just
gun.
Taken.
You're gonna go kill somebody now.
You're just taken and go. Like, that's insane, you know? There's an adventurous element to it also. That's kind of I could see that could be
if you want adventure, join the Peace Corps. You get to travel the world and help people. You know, but that's what's messed up, and you know, and again, this is coming from a guy that I was involved in bad stuff in my younger days. I was you know, did some criminal BS like a lot of kids did. I hung out with a lot of, you know, quote unquote bad people. They're good people, but they're doing bad things based on the law. I got a lot of tattoos. I drink a lot. I drive a Harley. You know, so that's where I'm coming from. You know, as far as my history. But I've gotten more and more in tune with the spiritual aspect of things. And I really, really believe that's the way that we all need to go so that we can stop this war and stop these smaller groups of power-hungry people that want to dictate what the masses do.
Dude, it's
insane. And all it is if we keep killing people, then our vibration stays low. Our vibration stays low. It's a barbaric... like animalistic, right? You're only
it's de-evolution.
De-evolution, right?
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be evolving physically, mentally, and spiritually, and getting to a point of enlightenment where we can connect with the spirit and connect with each other, so that we can do some of the cool stuff, like, you know, be able to communicate telepathically, you know, and heal each other, and that's what's on the forefront for us if we can all come together as a planet.
Yeah.
And get on board with love. That's it, man. And that's again coming from a guy that drank way too much whiskey last night.
Love it. Good stuff.